Tomorrow is Silk Song. I'm almost excited for it, even though I'm not playing it or know anything about it. My Little Pony, hi! You forgot to. Oh gosh darn it! I forgot to press update again. Why? Okay, refresh now. It should be okay. There. Why am I like this? Why is it so hard to press a button? Well, if you beat... Well, I would want to stream it, and I couldn't stream it because I have to work at 3 a.m. tomorrow. I mean 4 a.m. But I have to wake up at 3 a.m. Thank you for your purchase. Please enjoy your paper. It kind of... You could pretend that that's like a fruit roll-up if you wanted to. I'd think that it was a fruit roll-up. I know, I work. Tomorrow's also the day I find out if I have to fight my employers or not. Because of the wonderful thing she does. Hi, Brandon. Why were you saying math earlier? What's happening with math? Math. Yeah, tomorrow I find out if they took all of my my very repeatedly nagging emails to follow through with what they promised me, or if I have to go tell them that despite all previous warnings of a whole 2 months ago, they're gonna have to deal with it. I hope it's the former. Mathematical? Remember to always aim for the weak spot. True. Okay. What would be the weak spot? What would be the weak spot if I have to talk to them? That is universally shared weak spot. Maybe the eyeballs or something? What's a way that I can make them feel bad? The throat? Oh, true. Obviously the former and the latter, but which one is the first and which one is the second? The former is the first. The latter is the second. You can easily remember it because latter, with like it's spelled Latter, it's like later, you know? So it's like the later one. Even though they say latter, you could be like, okay, it's the later one. That's a good way to remember it. That's how I remember it. And then the former is just the one that's left. Or you could pretend, you could say like, it starts at F, so it's first. Former first, latter later. Thank you, Miss Carnival. You're welcome. I too have been plagued by this trouble. Tug at their heartstrings literally. Attach strings to their hands and tug on them. That's a good idea. I like that idea. I'll just have to go all ooh, I think I'll talk to my favorite manager and then he'll have to deal with it. If it comes to that. Wow, 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 wow. You know what I did, guys? Thank you for the lurk! I got myself a white mouse, and that was my first mistake, honestly. I was like, oh, it'll look so cute with my pink keyboard and pink everything else. The cute white mouse. Little did I forget is that it's disgusting. Oops. Did you hear that? I picked up my mouse and I dropped it. It's so gross. It's so nasty. I have to clean it. Get like a wipe or something. So gross. Because it's like all your dead skin, right? So what it is, dead skin. Wow, what kind of mouse do you have? Also, today's very exciting because I realized that I am able to stream on Twitter now. So people can watch me on Twitter. I should have advertised that I was reading Warrior Cats. I think the Warrior Cat people on Twitter would be happy. The cool kind, nice. The living kind. I think I had a dream last night that I had. I don't know if how wise it is. Luckily, there's no chat on Twitter. It's just kind of like people use it more like another way to advertise that you're streaming. Like it's saying like, "Oh, I'm live on Twitch. Like, come see my Twitch." And you can technically watch it on Twitter, but it's there is another alternative, another option. It'll probably go someplace, maybe. I don't know. Oh, nice, because Twitter's basically hell. I was gonna say heck, but then I decided last second to say the real word. No, but back in high school, we got to do classical conditioning experiments on mice, like in a nice way. Oh, wait, that reminds me. I saw this short yesterday where they they had I like to know about these things. Tell me what you did with your mice. I watched this short and it was explaining how they had like they were giving rats drugged water and normal water in a cage, and all of them would take the drugged water only and then they would die. But then this other guy came along and he's like, well, of course they're going to want to drink the drugged water. You put them in a boring cage. And so he made a beautiful rat haven world with all sorts of games and other rat friends and nice food. And then none of the rats drank the drugged water. They all drank the normal water. And it was because they had other things to do and other bonds to make and things to enjoy. But when they were all alone and in a terrible place with no simulation, they were like, well, what else am I supposed to do? That experiment was hoped to see what like how, I don't know, like some social thing. Some sort of social experiment. Mine was actually very scared and shut down. So I suggested that we pair my mouse with a confident mouse, and she flourished. But since I only thought of it closer to the end of our experiment, we never truly got her conditioned. But she went to a loving home afterwards. Aw, that's so happy! Did she get to be with another confident mouse? Did they go together? I feel like you would have to kind of like get them both to go together. Hello, Black! I'm gonna translate that, but if it's I'm just gonna, we'll find out. Oh! Why didn't you pray? Well! Hi, Perf! How would you know? How would you know? Yeah, if I had literally no outside communication and was... Okay, that's like really funny if it like turned it into like a meow thing. If I had literally no outside communication and was stuck in a bland box, I'd drink drug water too. In Minecraft, yeah. Hi, silliest ones! Why does your neck hurt? You were all individual plans based on your group. I do not remember what we tried to train her to do. Oh. How about the fact they... Oh! Brandon! We warned you before. No naughty things. I know. Don't worry. This is your last warning, and then you'll have to get a timeout. But I know you know better. I do. I think it's funny. Not a timeout. You can delete individual messages? I guess I can. Why is everyone crazy today? I think it's funny, specifically on Warrior Cat Wednesday days because my chat on the screen looks hilarious. Cause Silk Song, it just auto deletes if it's time out or banned. Oh. Oh yeah, I didn't time Brandon out. I just deleted the message. Hi, Glovey. Looked up degloving injuries and both regretted. What the heck is a degloving injury? It's disrupting the natural order of things. You're right. Silksong people are going crazy, I think. Yeah, it's weird to see a swear in the chat, honestly. You love the Warrior Cat books. Yay! Yeah, we haven't started our reading yet today, but we're on chapter 22. You swear in front of your parents. Yeah. Ew, there's a dead bug on my... Ew. Ew, gross. Yuck! But yes, okay, let's get to the meat. That'll at least like probably filter out some people who don't know what they're doing here. Today, we're reading Warrior Cats. Hello, Lynx! We are on the third? Maybe third. The third book of... Actually, I'm gonna look it up. I think it is the third. Just kidding, it's the fourth. It says it in the title. I'm so silly. We're reading the fourth book of the fifth series, which is Dawn of the Clans, The Blazing Star. You were reading one 2 minutes ago. Which one were you reading? You like the books too? Yay! And we're currently on chapter 22. So, I'm gonna scroll back and see kind of what we were reading last time. The third of the first series? You wish you had one? I feel like I dedicate so much of my life to Warrior Cats, I need to have like a vast collection of all of them. The third book. Nice. Okay, so I think okay. Previously on Warrior Cats, The Blazing Star, what we read last week, is what was her name? There's like this new cat. This pretty cat. Thank you, Phil! Starflower, yes. Starflower has shown up again and has or at least she showed up and she asked to go like have like maybe like a little date with Thunder, and so they went off and they sat by like a river, and Thunder was like smitten, and everybody around him is like, to be young again. And Starflower was like, oh yeah, I know what the blazing stars are. They're a healing herb, I'm pretty sure. And Thunder was like, oh my god, this is great news. And so he went back to the camp and he was like, guys, Starflower told me that the blazing star is a herb. And everyone was like, oh, this could be the herb to cure the sickness. Because we lost, I think, did somebody else is sick now? Oh, Holly is sick. Holly is currently sick, and they're like, okay, we need to hurry and find a cure for this thing. It is killing our cats. And so they're like, okay, let's go on a mission and get some blazing stars. And they are currently located in the swamp area, or the marsh area. So Greywing lets his brother Jagged Peak lead a little patrol off into the marshlands to go and collect the blazing star. And they do. They go all the way there. It's quite nice. Jagged Peak and Clear Sky have like a nice brother to brother. It's nice. But then on their way back, they run into One Eye and his rogues. And One Eye, who in a previous episode, he had taken over Clear Sky's camp. So he's in control of Clear Sky's camp now. He brought in a bunch of rogues to like fight with him, and also pretty much held captive all of Clear Sky's cats. He was about to kill. What was he about to kill? I think he was gonna kill Lightning. What's his name? Lightning Tail. He was gonna kill Lightning Tail, but then Lightning Tail's sister, who moved to Clear Sky's camp, jumped in and gave them enough time to escape. They unfortunately dropped all of their blazing flowers, so they no longer had any of the herb. And Lightning Tail's worried that his sister is dead now. I too am worried about that. And when they came back, Jagged Peak was like, I'm so sorry, we failed. And Greywing was like, actually, you did exactly what I needed you to do. Because he had formulated this plan where Jagged Peak, there was no way Jagged Peak could lose. So he gave him his first mission in a way that meant, like, if he brought back the blazing star, then he won. He got the blazing star back. But if he didn't, because of One Eye, then that was also good and part of Greywing's plan. Hi, James. We then see what we see. We Workout Wednesday! Hi, Lambriel! Lambriel. What happens next? I've forgotten now. Oh, right. So after we find out that Jagged Peak has like, it's me! I'm gonna shout you out. Shout out. A lamb yeah. Yahoo! Oh, I never got to read your thing. Lambriel's an absolute delight. This ethically questionable cheap boy is streaming every day except Tuesdays at 7 p.m. EST. They're cozy, chill, and a little bit femboy. I remember when you were fighting about that. What's not to love? They're currently playing Minecraft, but who knows what other adventures await. You can always count on them to be normal and functional. Wink, wink. Don't miss out on this amazing VTuber. That's the funniest. That's the funniest description I've ever read. I think I was there when you were talking about being a femboy and how you're not a femboy. The normal and functional wink wink is hilarious. Hey, I knows all. You should save that. I think that's funny. That was too good. I should do that more often. I always forget to shout out my friends. But yeah, everybody go follow Lambriel for some fun stuff. Who streams every day except Tuesdays. That means today. Yeah. All right, back to the summary. The summary. Right. So they got the plan, and so Greywing's real plan is that he wants to single One Eye out in a situation where they can surround him and then kick him out of the forest. Everyone's kind of like, well, we should just kill him instead. But Greywing's like, no, then we'll be as dirty as he is. But honestly, they should really just kill him. So that's their kind of like plan. And Greywing went off to this area where he wants the plan to happen. But while he's there, a fox kind of grabs him and swings him around, and then that other cat, I forget her name. Slate. Slate is there and saves him, and they have like a nice little walk and a nice little chat, and Greywing's kind of becoming smitten for him. Yeah, Slate. Slate is an interesting name to name her because it's so like smitten. I love the word smitten. They're Twitter padded. They're Twitter padded for each other. Slate the Hearthian, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And he's kind of realizing he's falling for a little bit. Or at least like he's like, wow, I've never connected so much with a person so quickly before. Wow, crazy. And that's kind of where we're at. So I'm guessing that today they're going to put out their plan, start their plan in motion to bribe One Eye out and then kill him. Or not kill him, but I'm guessing it'll end up with that. Bye, Juice! Good work. Good work working. Okay, let's go. Also, who was it? Lynx! I think you asked me what my favorite was. We've only read up to Dawn of the Clans, so up any cat after that, we don't know. Or at least I don't know. My favorite out of all the leaders, I don't know if I have a favorite leader. But Jay Feather is my favorite cat. Okay, let's begin. Chapter 22. Thunder woke to the first feint of light. No, I read that wrong. Thunder woke to the first faint light of dawn creeping through the entrance of his den. He stumbled to his paws and ventured into the hollow, pausing to arch his back in a good long stretch. The air was clear and cold. Every leaf and blade of grass was edged with frost. Leaf Bear's almost here, he thought. When he had given his pelt a quick grooming, Thunder was ready to head out and visit Windrunner and River Ripple to ask for their help in the fight against One Eye. I don't have much hope that Windrunner will join us, he thought doubtfully. She made it clear that she wants to be left alone, and I'll leave the forest cats for now, he decided, remembering how any cat who crossed the border had been attacked when Clear Sky first took over. One Eye was likely to be even more aggressive in guarding his territory. Maybe I can work out how to speak to some of them when our plans are in place. As he padded towards the edge of the hollow, Thunder was surprised to see Greywing perched on Tall Shadow's rock. He veered over to talk to him. Can you see anything? Thunder called from the foot of the rock. Greywing shook his head. Everything's quiet. For a moment, the two cats fell silent, but Thunder felt too disturbed not to say what was in his heart. Why did you leave, Greywing? He blurted out. I need you. Greywing narrowed his eyes as he gazed down at Thunder. You don't need me, he responded. If you keep believing that you do, it'll hold you back. I wonder if that's true, Thunder thought uncomfortably, not wanting to accept his kin's words. But you'll stay now, won't you? He asked. Greywing twitched one ear, gazing far out across the moor. There was something in his eyes that Thunder couldn't read. Before he could respond, Lightning Tail popped out of his den and bounded over to Thunder's side. I'm coming with you, he announced roughly. Thunder suppressed a hiss of irritation. Why does Lightning Tail think I'll want him with me after the way he treated Starflower? But then Thunder reminded himself how often Lightning Tail had been there for him. Our bond is too important for us to fight now. Lightning Tail will come around. When he gets to know Starflower better, he'll realize his suspicions are unfounded. Okay, he mewed. Greywing looked down from his perch. You'd better get going. The sooner we all know who will help us with this, the better. Thunder's thoughts were still with Greywing as he headed across the moor with Lightning Tail by his side. He didn't feel like talking, and it was Lightning Tail who broke the silence in a disbelieving tone. You're not even going to apologize? Surprised, Thunder halted and stared at him. Apologize? For what? You know very well, Thundertail retorted with a lash of his tail. You left the group vulnerable when you went off. Cavorting with that rogue. Anger began to swell up inside Thunder. Don't call her that, he hissed. Why? That's what she is, Lightning Tail asserted. And you'd better remember that. She's not one of us. Now Thunder had to make a massive effort to hold onto his anger and not lash out at his den mate. What do you mean, one of us? He asked. Being one of the original cats from the mountains, or being born in the hollow? Lightning Tail spluttered for a moment, as if he hadn't expected that question. Well, yes, that's a pretty good definition, he managed to say at last. Then I'm not one of us either, Thunder spat. I was born in the two-leg place. My mother was a rogue, and I would have been one too if Greywing hadn't taken me in. But that's different, Lightning Tail protested. Maybe that's why Starflower and I have such a deep connection, Thunder went on, dismissing his friend's words with a flick of his tail. In our hearts, we both know that we're outsiders. That's ridiculous, Lightning Tail exclaimed. You only just met her, and you're not an outsider. I don't want to talk about this anymore, Thunder meowed, sinking his claws into the ground to stop himself from catching Lightning Tail with a blow over the ear. I'm the leader of the group, and I'm certainly capable of deciding who to spend my time with. There was a hurt expression in Lightning Tail's eyes. So that's how it is then. Other cats' opinions don't count for anything? Thunder didn't respond, but merely turned his back and stalked on across the moor. He realized that Lightning Tail hadn't followed him, and for a moment he was afraid that his den mate would just go home. Then he heard a patter of paw steps as Lightning Tail ran to catch up and padded along just behind him. Greywing had told Thunder where to find the rocky outcrop at which Windrunner had made her den, but before he reached it, he spotted Windrunner herself beside a small pool, slinking out from a patch of reeds with a mouse in her jaws. She stopped and waited for Thunder and Lightning Tail to approach her, but there was no welcome in her eyes. What do you want? She asked, setting down her prey. We're sorry to bother you, Thunder meowed, dipping his head politely. How are your kits doing? Better, Windrunner replied tersely, but was seeing more and more sick prey. That's partially why I'm here, Thunder told her. You remember the blazing star plant the spirit cats told us about? We think it might be a cure for the sickness. Windrunner's eyes stretched wide. You think you found a cure? Well, who's gone to look for the flower? Some of our cats tried yesterday, but One Eye attacked them, Thunder began, and we haven't tried again yet. Why not? Windrunner snapped. Because we have another problem, Thunder told her. We've come to ask for your help. Windrunner was instantly suspicious. What for? That evil rogue cat, One Eye, has driven Clear Sky out of his group, Thunder explained. We have a plan to defeat him, but we'll need all the help we can get. Windrunner's eyes seemed to glaze over. You want my help in battle aid? To battle aid Clear Sky? Are you mouse-brained? Thunder opened his jaws to give her reasons, but the brown she-cat cut him off with a snarl. No! But remember what the spirit cat said, Thunder urged her. Unite or die! We need to help each other. No, Windrunner repeated, her tone implacable. I left your group to protect my family, and that's what I'm doing. We have a perfectly nice life here. Thunder narrowed his eyes with a glance at the small mouse that was her only piece of prey. Is your life really all that nice? He asked. We've been struggling to find prey that isn't sick, and there are far more cats than us than with you. Then you have more mouths to feed, Windrunner retorted. Maybe. But are your kits actually getting enough to eat? Windrunner twitched her ears. I've given you my answer, she rasped. You can go now. But you can come back with news of the flower. Lightning Tail took a pace forward. So you're willing to take the group's wisdom, but do nothing for us in return? The she-cat gave him a cold look from baleful yellow eyes. I lost 2 kits when I was with your group, she reminded him. Surely you owe me a few scraggly flowers. Picking up her prey, she stalked away. Thunder let out a sigh as he watched her go. That went well. With a dissatisfied shrug, he headed towards the river, hoping he would have better luck with River Ripple. You want You might want to be a bit more tactful this time, he told Lightning Tail after a few moments. We really need River Ripple's help in the battle, and a more friendly approach might work better. Lightning Tail didn't respond. Really? Thunder's exasperation burst out of him. We're not speaking now? His denmate was quiet for a couple of heartbeats longer. Thank you for the follow, Zoe! My loyalty is to the group now, he mewed at last, not to you. I can't believe it. Thunder stared at him. Are you really abandoning me over some she-cat? He demanded. What? Are you jealous? He is. Rage flared in Lightning Tail's eyes. Without warning, he swiped at Thunder's face and followed up the blow by leaping on him, tackling him to the ground. The two toms wrestled together among the dried leaves and the cold, frost-bitten grass. I don't need your approval, Thunder snarled through gritted teeth as he thrust his hind paws into Lightning Tail's belly. I've led a group well so far, haven't I? For an answer, Lightning Tail rolled Thunder over and landed on his back, wrapping his forelegs around his neck. You're falling right into that rogue's trap, he growled, and you're the only one who can't see it. Well, if it's a trap, what does she want from me? Thunder asked, straining to throw Lightning Tail off. I don't know, the Lightning Tail admitted. But ever since I first saw her, I've known she was up to something, and whatever it is, it's not good. Abruptly, he gave up the fight, springing to his paws and giving his pelt a shake before he stalked off towards the river. This is stupid, he meowed as he went. We should just concentrate on finding cats to help us in the battle. Thunder jumped up and followed him. Does that mean you'll stop nagging me about Starflower? He asked. Lightning Tail didn't look at him. Just come on, he hissed. The sun had risen by the time the river came into sight, dazzling on the water. Thunder headed for the stepping stones, but as he jumped out onto the first one, he realized that Lightning Tail had halted at the water's edge with a bewildered expression. We have to cross the water? He asked. I didn't know that. Yes, Thunder replied. River Ripple lives on that island. He's a bit weird. He doesn't mind the water. Lightning Tail nodded grimly. Water was washing over the stepping stones, and as he followed Thunder, he winced at the touch of it on his pads. Thunder didn't like getting his feet wet either, but he didn't say anything. I'm not going to let Lightning Tail hear me complain. Reeds grew around River Ripple's island, and the interior was screened by bushes that grew close to the water's edge. The reeds made a soft sound as they brushed together, and with the rushing of the river in his ears, Thunder had a flash of understanding why River Ripple loved the spot. But the understanding vanished when he had to push his way through the tough stalks of reeds and get his paws muddy to climb onto a narrow strip of grass that edged the river. Lightning Tail followed with an annoyed hiss, shaking each paw in turn. Not very subtle, are you? Thunder jumped at the voice and looked up to see that River Ripple had emerged from the bushes and was watching the two cats with amusement glinting in his eyes. Oh no, not muddy paws! Good morning, Gourmet! His long furred pelt shone silver in the sunlight. You're as loud as a pack of dogs, he went on. I saw you coming ages ago. Well, what can I do for you? Thunder dipped his head respectfully before he settled down and explained to River Ripple about the blazing star. Meanwhile, Lightning Tail sat silently and washed his paws. River Ripple nodded in understanding when Thunder had finished. And what else? He asked. How does he know there's something else? Thunder wondered. One Eye has driven Clear Sky out of the forest and taken over his group, he meowed. Greywing has a plan to defeat him, but we need help. Will you join us to drive One Eye away? River Ripple paused thoughtfully before replying. I will, he agreed at last. But I have to warn you, I have problems with One Eye. I've had problems with One Eye in the past, and believe me, he won't back down. It's not a question of driving him out. You'll have to kill him. He gets it. We're prepared for that, Thunder told him, doing his best to hide his dismay. That's what Greywing's plan will do. River Ripple nodded, a grim look in his eye. If Greywing is behind it, I'll be part of it. And I'll see my cats help too. We're thinking of reaching out to some of the cats in the forest, Thunder went on. Pleased to have such a formidable cat as River Ripple on their side. They can't all want One Eye to be their leader, but I can't think of a good way to get them without running into One Eye and his rogues. Do you have any ideas about that? River Ripple shook his head. Don't even think about it, he advised. If One Eye found out that any of the forest cats spoke to you, he'd make them suffer, and he'd enjoy doing it, he finished. Thunder had to accept that the older cat was probably right. He thanked River Ripple and was saying goodbye when the Silver Tom's gaze turned serious. Be careful, young one. River Ripple mewed solemnly. What do you mean? Thunder asked, puzzled. I think you know, River Ripple responded. I've told Greywing many times. I know everything. Bemused, Thunder thanked him again, then padded away, shaking his head as he crossed the stepping stones. If I thought I understood everything this morning, clearly I was wrong. The two cats traveled back to their camp in silence. Thunder remembered that Acorn Fur was still in One Eye's camp and tried not to worry too much about her. She's dead. Totally. She was strong. Thunder hoped she was taking care of herself. Maybe that's why Lightning Tail is so touchy. He's upset about his sister. But still, seeing Lightning Tail stalking ahead, Thunder couldn't help feeling hurt. He couldn't understand why his friend didn't trust him enough to make his own decisions. I didn't add her to the death counter because it's not confirmed. I'm just assuming. Based on One Eye? Like... One Eye sucks! He couldn't understand why his friend didn't trust him enough to make his own decisions. I always felt I could count on him. Why is this turning him away, of all things? He likes you! Thunder was feeling like things couldn't get any worse until he arrived back at camp and spotted Starflower at the bottom of the hollow, talking to Tall Shadow. At the sight of her, Lightning Tail let out a disgusted snort and ran off. Thunder's heart started to race again as Starflower bounded up the slope to his side. I'm so glad to see you, she purred, brushing against his side. I was disappointed when Tall Shadow said you weren't here. Well, I'm here now, Thunder meowed, then winced, feeling annoyed at himself for sounding so stupid. I've got good news for you, Starflower announced, her green eyes shining. I found a small patch of blazing star growing near the river. Not many flowers, but enough to treat the sick. And no need to cross the Thunder Path. After a pause when Thunder didn't respond, she asked, Why don't you look more excited? Thunder swallowed hard. Why aren't I more excited? Starflower had just given him an amazing piece of news, yet he found himself reacting with suspicion, just like Lightning Tail might. Could Starflower really be up to something? Or has Lightning Tail ruined this for me by putting his doubts into my head? It's great news, he told Starflower hastily, hoping she wouldn't be upset with him. Can you take me there? I thought you'd never ask, Starflower meowed with a whisk of her tail. Come on. As Thunder followed her out of the camp, he glanced over his shoulder to see Lightning Tail staring after him with a look of disapproval. It gave him an odd feeling of satisfaction to be showing his trust in Starflower. I spent some time with Greywing's kits, Starflower told him as they padded side by side across the moor towards the river. Owl Eyes and Pebbleheart, the injured one, Sparrowfur. Oh, and the injured one, Sparrowfur. They're very cute. Yes, they're great kits, Thunder agreed. I can't believe One Eye would hurt her like that. You know One Eye? Starflower nodded. We've met. Then you know what he's like. He's even driven Clear Sky out of his own camp. But we're not going to stand for that, Thunder went on confidently. We're making a plan to corner him in the open moor. If you want, you could really help. Uh-oh. If she's a secret spy! Oh my god, she's Yoko Ono. Hi, 10. Chapter 23. Clear Sky stretched his jaws in a massive yawn and blinked in the strengthening dawnlight. The sky above the hollow was the clear blue of a robin's egg, and on the horizon a rosy flush showed where the sun would rise. He was sitting at the mouth of Greywing's den. Around him other cats were emerging, getting ready for the new day. For a couple of moments, Clear Sky watched Turtletail's 3 kits, grooming themselves just a few paw steps away. Pebbleheart was taking particular care with Sparrowfur's injuries, and Clear Sky's heart warmed towards the wise little kit. Nearer to the center of the hollow, Lightning Tail was crouched over a mouse, devouring it in hungry bites, while his gaze remained fixed on Thunder and Starflower, their heads close together near the foot of Tall Shadow's rock. Dislike and distrust were rising from him, as clear as the scent of warm prey. Clear Sky wasn't sure if it had been wise for the Moorland cats to allow Starflower to stay overnight in the hollow. She had taken Thunder to find the herb that would heal the sickness, but to every cat's disappointment, the flowers she had found weren't actually Blazing Star, only another plant that looked vaguely like it. Starflower herself had seemed as upset as any cat, but Clear Sky couldn't be certain that her feelings were genuine. But Thunder still trusts her, he thought. That cat is smitten. Thunder and Starflower had stayed talking together far into the night, until Tall Shadow had emerged from her den, tired and irritable, and told them to shut up and let the other cats get some sleep. Clear Sky's feeling of amusement faded as he realized that none of the waking cats were coming to speak to him, or even acknowledging his presence. Not even the cats he had known all his life, had traveled down from the mountains with. I feel like an outsider, 'cause it's what I am. Finally, Greywing padded over to him. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Are you ready to challenge One-Eye to a fight on the moor?" Clear Sky didn't want to be reminded. You did exile your own son, and also your brother, technically. Clear Sky didn't need to be reminded. Do I have to tell my brother that I feel sick to the bottom of my stomach? The knowledge that he was putting his life at risk meant that he hadn't eaten since the previous sunrise. Thunder and Lightning Tail had told him that River Ripple would support them, but they weren't sure about Windrunner. And they hadn't even tried to talk to the forest cats. Clear Sky's heart ached at the thought that he couldn't rely on the help of the very cats he was trying so hard to protect. They can't want One-Eye as their leader. Are they all such cowards? Then he remembered One-Eye's rogues, and admitted to himself that perhaps his own cats didn't have much choice. They could very well be prisoners in the forest. A moment later, a less comforting thought crept into his mind. Surely they could escape if they tried hard enough. Has it all been worth it? He asked Greywing despondently. His brother's eyes widened with shock. I can't believe you're asking that, he meowed. Hasn't it always been worth it? Clear Sky had no answer to that question, and he silently rose to his paws and padded beside his brother to the edge of the hollow. Tall Shadow leaped down from her rock to join them, and the other cats gathered around. Clear Sky realized that the only cats missing were Holly, still lying sick in her den, Cloudspots, and Jagged Peak, who, despite warnings about the sickness, hardly ever left Holly's side. Goodbye, Tall Shadow mewed, tipping her head to Clear Sky, and good luck. The other cats joined in, repeating her words and calling out their good wishes. You can do it, Clear Sky! Rip that crazy cat's pelt off! Good luck! We'll be with you! Their enthusiasm warmed Clear Sky and put strength into his muscles. But as he took the first paw step out of the camp, he realized there was one more thing he had to do. He wanted to see Holly, to remind himself why he was doing this. Turning back, he pushed his way gently through the crowd of cats and bounded across the hollow to her den. Holly lay on her side in her mossy nest, her belly bulging with her growing kits. Oh, snap. Her kits. Oh, well, she's sick, too. Uh-oh. Jagged Peak crouched beside her, his tail lashed with concern as his eyes were dark with trouble. Cloudspots was there, too, encouraging Holly to eat some tansy. Holly, you have to hold on, he meowed. This should help until we can get the Blazing Star. The sooner we get rid of One-Eye, the sooner we can get safely across the Thunderpath to fetch some. It won't be long now, Jagged Peak promised. You'll be fine, Holly, and so will our kits. Clear Sky couldn't tell whether his younger brother actually believed what he was saying. Holly had a faraway look in her eyes, and didn't seem to hear what Cloudspots or Jagged Peak said. As Clear Sky gazed at her, knowing he couldn't come closer than the entrance to the den, He noticed the sores on her body and the way her chest heaved with short, panting breaths. This can't go on, he thought. Turning away, with his resolve renewed, he halted as a cracked, broken voice called out, "Good luck, Clear Sky." Glancing back over his shoulder, Clear Sky saw Holly's gaze trained on him. Then slowly her eyes closed as she winced in a fresh onset of pain. Clear Sky felt his motivation surge. He could save Holly. He could save all the sick cats. Let's do this! Spicy nacho Dorito chips. Yummy. Clear Sky left the den to rejoin Greywing, Thunder, and Tall Shadow. The rest of the cats drew back respectfully. "I'll go to the edge of the forest and call out to One Eye," Clear Sky began. "I'll lure him to the spot on the moor that you drew in the earth, Greywing." With a glance at the sky, he went on. "Let's say that I'll be there at sun high. Can you be waiting, hidden?" Greywing nodded. "We'll be there." "And we'll send the same message to Windrunner and River Ripple," Tall Shadow added. "We can only hope that Windrunner has had a change of heart." "If we can't summon enough cats," Thunder asked worriedly, "how will we get the message to you to abandon the plan?" "You don't need to," Clear Sky replied, summoning all his determination. "I'm not abandoning this plan. Whatever it takes, this is the last day that One Eye draws breath. Or maybe it's my last day." He gave his pelt a vigorous shake, refusing to think about it. "We're doing this," he asserted. "The only failure is not to try, and I've never stopped trying." Greywing gave him an approving purr and touched noses with him. "We won't abandon you," he promised. Clear Sky drew himself up and headed for the forest with a final flick of his tail. "What if this is the end?" he asked himself. "What if this is the last time I see these cats? Would I be satisfied if my life ended today?" He drew in a deep breath. At least Greywing and I are reconciled. He took an effort not to glance back at the hollow, but he forced himself to keep looking ahead, facing his fate. Crouching behind a rock, Clear Sky peered cautiously at the edge of the forest. Only a few fox lengths in front of him. Although the lush growth of green leaf had died back, leaving the trees gray and bare, there were very few traces of the burnt patches from the fire. But Clear Sky's satisfaction at seeing the end of the devastation was short-lived. It didn't take him long to spot deep claw scratches on several trees, forming the round shape that he had already seen on Petal's pad. "Is One Eye leaving his mark everywhere now?" he asked himself, ashamed to remember that although he'd never etched anything into the trees, he'd left his own mark all around the border of his territory not long ago. Now he gagged at the wave of One Eye's stench that rolled towards him out of the trees, and stiffened at the thought that One Eye could be hiding somewhere in the undergrowth, already aware of Clear Sky's presence. "Stop that!" Clear Sky told himself, giving his pelt a shake. "If you imagine One Eye squatting under every bush, you'll never dare to do anything." He let out a sigh, wondering when this vile evasion would end. "Today," he reminded himself. Tucking his paws underneath him, Clear Sky waited. Sooner or later, he knew, one of his own cats would appear on a patrol. "I just hope they're alone and not with One Eye's rogues," he thought gloomily. "Clear Sky? Clear Sky, is that you?" A tremor of anticipation ran through Clear Sky at the sound of Acorn Fur's voice. Oh my god, she's alive. Taking a breath, he distinguished her scent, but it took a moment to spot her crouching underneath a thick clump of bracken at the very edge of the trees. "Clear Sky?" she called out again, her voice low and urgent. For a heartbeat, Clear Sky hesitated. Is she luring me out so that One Eye and his rogues can finish me off? Then he took a calming breath. He would never believe that the brave chestnut-brown she-cat would be such a traitor. I trust her completely, even though she had only just joined my group when One Eye took over. Pressing himself to the ground and using the long grass for cover, Clear Sky crawled forward until he could join Acorn Fur beneath the bracken. "Oh, Clear Sky, I was so relieved when I picked up your scent," the young cat mewed, trembling as she pressed herself against his side. "It's terrible here with One Eye. Every heartbeat I'm scared he's going to claw me." "Then why stay?" Clear Sky found it hard to feel sympathetic. "Escape. Go back to the hollow on the moor. You could have come with us when One Eye attacked us by the thunder path." Acorn Fur's eyes widened, and her trembling was replaced by the stiffness of fury. You don't imagine I want to be here, she demanded. I'm only staying to see if I can find some way to help you. I've been volunteering for border patrol so that I might see you or some cat to take a message to you. I'm sorry. Clear Sky gave her ear a quick lick. Have you found out anything? He added hopefully. Pacified by his apology, Acorn Fur shook her head. No, but I'll keep trying. Nervously, she angled her ears back towards the forest. I'm with the patrol now, she murmured. They must be somewhere around. We don't have much time. Tell me what I can do. There is something. Clear Sky couldn't believe his luck. Finding a faithful cat like Acorn Fur in the middle of his enemies. I'm gonna fight One Eye, he explained in rapid undertone. I need you to take my challenge to him, claws out. A fight to the death, just him and me, one-on-one. Tell him I'll be waiting for him on the moor at sun high. Are you mouse-brained? You can't fight One Eye alone. Acorn Fur protested, horror in her eyes. He'll claw you to pieces. I'm not taking a message like that. I won't be alone, Clear Sky reassured her. The other moorline cats are going to help, and River Ripple, and maybe Windrunner, and Gorsefur. You'll have to lie to One Eye, he added. Do you think you can convince him? Acorn Fur took a deep breath, bracing herself. I'll do anything to get rid of that mange-ridden excuse for a cat, she promised. Acorn Fur! A harsh voice, unknown to Clear Sky, rang out from deeper within the forest. Where are you? Get your flea-bitten tail over here before I have to teach you a lesson. Acorn Fur shuddered. I've got to go. You can trust me, Clear Sky. I'll do my best. Before Clear Sky could respond, she vanished into the undergrowth. What have you been up to? The same voice growled. I can scent that flea pelt, Clear Sky. I hope you haven't been talking to him. Yes, I have. Acorn Fur's voice reached Clear Sky's ears, steady and undaunted. And you can put your claws away. He gave me an important message to take to One Eye. What message? I'll tell that to One Eye, Acorn Fur retorted. And if you're not careful, I'll tell him you were nosing around in his private business. No response followed, only the sound of retreating paw steps and the rustle of cats brushing through the long grass. Clear Sky breathed a sigh of relief. It's done. Now there's no going back. Dun, 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 dun. Chapter 24. We might actually be able to end this stream. How many chapters are there? What page am I on right now? 20. There are 28 chapters. And we're on 24. Oh, only 4 more chapters. Oh my god, we are totally finishing today. Hi, Boba Fish. Sun High had almost come. In the cold, clear light of approaching Leaf Bear, Thunder peered out at the expanse of the moor from behind an outcrop of rock. Lightning Tail crouched beside him on one side, but the space on the other side felt terribly empty. Where's Starflower? He wondered. Uh-oh. Thank you for the repop, Addy Cats! Hello, Dayo! Hello! And hi, Mr. Cheese! Kinda empty here. It's more poppin' on Twitch. YouTube is kind of like a secondary streaming thing. But I get some people hanging out there sometimes. Where the heck is... Where was my spawn? I lost it. The Golden Tabby had promised to help in the battle, but Thunder hadn't seen her since she left the hollow, telling him she was going to find some rogue recruits. Thunder shifted uneasily, hoping she hadn't run into trouble. Missing your precious Starflower? Lightning Tail asked, an edge to his voice. Don't start. Thunder let out a sigh. Today's too important. Lightning Tail was silent, a look of shame creeping over his face. You're right. It's just... I don't want to see you get hurt. Thunder turned to him, thankful that his best friend's hostility was fading. Starflower would never do anything to hurt me, he assured Lightning Tail. Briefly resting his tail tip on the younger cat's shoulder. We understand each other. The twitch of Lightning Tail's whiskers told Thunder that his friend wasn't convinced, but to Thunder's relief, he said nothing. A soft paw step behind Thunder announced the arrival of Greywing. Tall Shadow, Cloud Spots, and Shattered Ice are hiding behind the hollow over there, he muttered, angling his ears towards a dip in the moor partly screened by gorse bushes. Mudpaws and Mouse Ears are with them. And see that torn tree over there? He added with a purr. Owl Eyes and Sparrow Fur are hiding in the branches. What? Thunder protested, stiffening. They're only kids. They shouldn't be part of this. Greywing gave him a long look. Have you tried controlling kits who are just about to be grown cats? I remember another kit with big paws who was keen on getting involved in everything. Thunder nodded, admitting that Greywing was right. If I were their age, I'd want to help too. At least Pebbleheart has stayed behind to take care of Holly. Jagged Peak and Dapplepelt took the message to River Ripple and Windrunner. Greywing went on. River Ripple said he'd watch on the riverbanks, and Windrunner, well, she didn't say no this time. We can only hope that she and Gorsefur will come and do what they can to help. Thunder glanced across the moor in the direction of the sandy dip and the rocks where Windrunner lived, but couldn't see any sign at all of approaching cats. A gasp from Lightning Tail drew Thunder's attention, and he squinted into the bright sunlight. Clear Sky was padding into the center of the moor. He's clever, Thunder thought admiringly, as he watched his father stride, self-assured yet wary. No cat would ever know that he feels his friends all around him. Clear Sky watched it reach the top of a small hillock, turned to face the forest, and sat down, motionless. He waited. Thunder realized that he was holding his breath as he gazed into the distance for the approach of One Eye. The sun beat down on his pelt. Beside him, Lightning Tail flicked his tail impatiently. Where is he? He muttered. Movement flashed in the corner of Thunder's eyes. Whirling around, he spotted One Eye, but the rogue hadn't come from the forest. Instead, he exploded out of a nearby rabbit hole. The tunnels! Greywing hissed in frustration. Why didn't we think of those? We should have known One Eye would do something sneaky, Thunder responded, all the hair on his pelt beginning to bristle. Clear Sky spun around, but a heartbeat too late. One Eye's paw was already raking through the air, his claws tearing at Clear Sky's ear. Blood poured down Clear Sky's face, and he let out a screech of mingled pain and anger. Thunder saw him shake his head, trying to clear the blood from his eyes. This is the worst possible start, Thunder thought. He flexed his claws, digging them into the ground. All his instincts were shrieking at him to spring out from his hiding and help his father. Clear Sky had insisted that he wanted to fight One Eye alone for a few moments. I want him to feel overconfident, he had explained. Clear Sky lashed out at One Eye, striking a hard blow onto the rogue's shoulder. One Eye countered by aiming for Clear Sky's throat, but Clear Sky leapt backwards in time to avoid his slashing claws. Then, to Thunder's amazement, One Eye drew back, padding around Clear Sky about a tail length away from him. His words reached Thunder in the still air. You said you'd fight me, Clear Sky. Are you ready to die? Wait, I don't want to make him an old man. I want to make him, scringly. Clear Sky's answer rang out. There's only one cat who will die today, and that's you. One Eye let out a furious snarl and launched himself again at Clear Sky. For a few moments, they tussled together on the grass. At first, it was hard for Thunder to see which cat was winning. Until a heartbeat later, Clear Sky was lying on his back with his belly exposed. One Eye raised his paw to slice down through the soft flesh. Now! Thunder leaped out of his hiding place, raising his voice in a great yowl of defiance. That was the signal for the other cats to launch themselves at One Eye. As he bounded over the springy moorland grass, Thunder saw Clear Sky scramble back onto his paws. He faced One Eye, hissing to distract him, but One Eye had heard Thunder's cry and spun around, gazing at the cats who were converging on him. Yes, One Eye, we're coming! Thunder's paws skimmed the ground as he could sense Lightning Tail racing along at his shoulder and Greywing close behind. Cloud Spots was leading the other cats who had hidden behind the gorse bushes. Beyond One Eye, Thunder spotted River Ripple, Dew, and Night charging across the moor from the river end. Yes, there's Windrunner! Gorsefur was by her side, and as they closed in on One Eye, Clear Sky leaped aside to join them. They must have left their kits with Slate. The thought flashed through Thunder's mind as he remembered what Greywing had told him about his nighttime encounter. She sounds like a cat worth knowing. That fleeting thought distracted Thunder, and he caught his paw in a rabbit hole. hitting the ground hard and rolling over a tang of paws and tail. Lightning Tail's voice rang out. Thunder, look! Struggling to his paws, Thunder saw a line of cats rushing across the moor from the direction of the forest. He half expected to see some of Clear Sky's cats among them, but all of them were strangers to him. One-Eye's rogues! There's so many! The group of rogues divided as they drew closer. One section barreled between One-Eye and River Ripple, while the other darted into Windrunner's path. 3 cats raced towards Thunder and Lightning Tail, who were leading the moorland cats, and snarled at them with claws extended. Thunder had to veer to one side, confusing the cats who were pelting up behind him. They all stumbled to a halt, panting as the rogue cats hissed in their faces. Get out of here! Thunder responded to the hissing with a hostile growl. This isn't your fight! The rogues didn't move. Thunder's glance darted over to One-Eye, who had leapt up onto a rock and was watching with sardonic satisfaction in his single eye. Thunder and his cats were being held back by the rogues. Thunder couldn't imagine how their plan had gone so wrong. Did One-Eye know that we would be in hiding to help Clear Sky? One-Eye let out a meow of harsh laughter. Otter! Oh, did you think you could get the better of me? He asked, his voice filled with mockery. Oh, daughter dear, won't you show yourself? Huh. I knew it. Actually, no, I didn't know this, but I knew it was a betrayal. A golden tabby cat broke away from the back of the crowd of rogues. No, it can't be. Starflower! Thunder stared in horror as the beautiful rogue leaped up beside her father. Her father? I don't believe it. Thunder felt his mouth go dry and his heart begin to beat faster with shock. He couldn't even look at Lightning Tail. Guilt crashed over him. His head spun, and for a heartbeat the sky darkened. Thunder. Greywing's voice spoke from somewhere by his side, heavy with sorrow. You've been betrayed. Dun dun dun! Chapter 25. Greywing could hardly believe that his plans had been so utterly torn apart. How could I have let my cats down so badly? He felt even greater pain at the shattered look on Thunder's face. But there was no time to think about that now. The rogue cats were clustering around him and his den mates, hissing and showing their claws. In the lead was a raw-boned tabby tom with one shredded ear. His jaws gaped, showing snaggled teeth, and his claws worked eagerly as he pressed forward. They're trying to scare us, and they're succeeding. We're way outnumbered. Then a screech came from the branches of the thorn tree, and in a blur of movement, Owl Eyes and Sparrow Fur hurled themselves at the crowd of rogues. Oh my god. No! Panic gripped Greywing's limbs. This is too dangerous for kits. Then he saw that their brave leap had worked. Startled, the rogue staggered back. The distraction was just enough for Greywing and the others to dart away. Follow me, River Ripple yowled with a wave of his tail. Streaking across the moor, he led the cats towards the river. Greywing glanced over his shoulder and saw that the rogues weren't bothering to follow. Why should they? He asked himself, tasting the bitterness of defeat. They've chased us off. River Ripple leaped down from the river bank into a narrow strip of pebbles where, not long ago, Greywing had lain in wait for a vole. Now he shuddered at making his escape so close to the water. Once all the cats had jumped down, River Ripple halted, giving them a moment to catch their breath. His chest heaving, Greywing glanced around to make sure all his cats had made it. The 2 kits were there, he noticed with relief, and all the others except for Windrunner and Gorsefur. And Clear Sky himself, Greywing realized, remembering his last glimpse of his brother surrounded by snarling rogues. Oh, please let him be alive. The cats huddled together on the pebbles, gazing at one another with wide eyes. What are we gonna do? Jagged Peak asked. Clear Sky's still out there. We can't leave him. River Ripple shouldered his way through the cluster of cats and headed upstream. Come on, this way, he called. Greywing followed, the pebbles feeling cold and wet beneath his paws. The current sucked at the edge, and sometimes the strip of solid ground was only wide enough for the cats to pass in single file. This had better be worth it, he thought as he struggled to keep his balance on the slick stones. Finally, River Ripple paused at the mouth of a tunnel in the bank. This will take us back onto the moor, he meowed. Tall Shadow balked at the entrance, gazing down into the gaping darkness. There could be anything living down there, she objected. It was a badger set, but the badgers are long gone. River Ripple responded. You'll have to trust me. Do you want to save Clear Sky or not? Without waiting for a reply, he headed into the tunnel. Tall Shadow shrugged and followed, with the rest of the cats hard on her paws. In the first few tail lengths, Greywing could see the white tree roots interlacing above his head, holding up the roof of the tunnel. But soon the light from the entrance faded and he padded along in darkness. He could feel damp soil beneath his paws and the smell of earth all around him, and the scent of Tall Shadow just ahead of him. In the lead, River Ripple was moving swiftly, passing a side tunnel with no hesitation. Greywing began to feel the familiar ache in his chest as he forced himself to keep up. He began to feel like he had been loping along forever in the darkness. Surely Clear Sky will be dead before we can get to him. Then he realized that a faint light was filtering into the tunnel from somewhere ahead, and he could make out Tall Shadow and River Ripple in front of him. The light grew until it became a wide circle of daylight. We're almost there, Greywing thought thankfully. At the tunnel entrance, River Ripple halted. We need to be careful, he mewed softly. Wait here while I see what's outside. He pressed himself flat to the ground and crept out into the open. Greywing could see him looking around. Then he glanced back and beckoned with his tail. You can come out now, he told the others. The rest of the cats followed him cautiously. Greywing saw that they had emerged in the middle of a gorse thicket. Peering through the branches, he looked around for Clear Sky, then drew in a gasp of horror at what he saw. One Eye and the rogues had backed Clear Sky against a rock and were surrounding him, caterwauling insults and threats of what they would do to him. Mange pelt! Fox dung eater! We'll spread your guts all over the moor! Each rogue in turn was padding up to him and aiming fierce kicks at his rib with their hind legs. Hi, Grace Plague, welcome in. Clear Sky was still on his paws, but just barely so, and Greywing feared that each kick might knock him over. Blood from his torn ear matted his pelt, but his eyes still blazed with defiance. We have to stop this before they kill him, Greywing meowed. A rustle among the branches announced the arrival of Windrunner and Gorsefur. We waited for you, Windrunner explained rapidly. We knew you'd come back. One Eye's has been too busy torturing Clear Sky to worry about where you went. What should we do now? Greywing realized that the eyes of every cat had turned towards him. I'd better come up with a really good plan, he thought. The cold sun of Leafbear was still high in the cloudless sky, shedding its brilliant light down on the moor. The beginnings of an idea stirred in Greywing's mind. We can use the sun to help us. He murmured, thinking out loud. We need to get high up, maybe in the torn tree where Sparrowfur and Owl Eyes were hiding. More confidently, as his plan took shape, he went on. We'll climb into the tree and call out to One Eye. He'll come to investigate, peering up with the sun in his eyes. He won't be able to see that the tree is full of cats, and then we pounce. Hi, Raccoon. Great plan, shouted Ice Meowed warmly. One by one, the cats slid out of the gorse thicket and crept towards the trees, their bellies pressed to the ground as if they were stalking prey. When they reached it, they climbed into the branches on the opposite side from One Eye and the rogues. As he clambered up, Greywing felt terribly exposed and wished there were more leaves remaining to conceal the cats. But One Eye and his rogues were having too much fun tormenting Clear Sky to pay much attention to what was going on around them. From his vantage point in the tree, Greywing had a good view of Starflower standing just outside the circle. Watching as her father and the rogues attacked Clear Sky, he hoped that Thunder, crouching on the next branch, hadn't spotted her. But when he glanced at him, the shocked look in his young kin's face told him that he had seen everything. I'm sorry, Greywing murmured. It's fine. Thunder's voice was cold. This just makes me more determined to defeat One Eye. Who's gonna call out? Windrunner whispered. When all the cats had made it into the tree, it needs to be a cat who One Eye hates almost as much as Clear Sky. That would be me, Sparrowfur meowed. But you're only a kid, Dapplepelt objected. It's too dangerous. When I killed my father, Sparrowfur bared her teeth. I'm doing this for Tom. I'll lure One Eye over here. No cat argued anymore. Greywing watched admiringly as Sparrowfur bravely scrambled around the trunk of the tree and walked carefully out onto a branch. It trembled under her weight, and she had trouble keeping her balance, but she never paused until she was in full view at the outer edge of the tree. "Hey, One-Eye!" she yowled. "Aren't you going to come and finish what you started? You were so stupid letting me escape with Clear Sky. You'd like another fight with me, wouldn't you?" Greywing saw One-Eye stiffen and slowly turn away from Clear Sky, who by now had slumped to the ground, his body withering in agony, yet still trying to get to his paws and face his attackers. Greywing felt his heart would crack in two at the sight of his brother in such pain. He's so badly hurt. Even if we win the fight, will he survive? "You and you!" One-Eye snapped, pointing his tail at a couple of rogues. "Guard this piece of mange fur. The rest of you follow me and surround the tree." The rogues obeyed him, racing fluidly over the moor towards the torn tree. When they were in position, One-Eye followed more slowly. "Is that you, Sparrowfur?" he snarled. "If you want to fight, I'll give you one you won't forget, because you'll be dead." "Flee, pal!" Sparrowfur spat. Nimbly, she leaped up onto a higher branch, then one higher still, always moving into the sun. His hunger for the fight blazing from his baleful eye, One-Eye padded closer and closer to the tree, craning his neck upwards to where Sparrowfur had gone. He narrowed his eyes against the bright rays of sun. "Now!" Greywing whispered. On his word of command, the cats in the tree leaped down, pouncing on One-Eye and the rogues nearest to him. Yowls of shock and alarm rose into the air. Greywing saw most of the rogues streaking off across the moor, leaving only one or two to grapple with his cats. "Cowards!" he snarled, though he was relieved to see so many of their enemies fleeing. "Hi, Bimstar, it's been a while. How are you?" One of the rogues who had stayed was Starflower. Confronting Thunder, she flashed out an angry paw. Though as Thunder jerked backwards, her claw only riffled through his fur. Thunder raised his paw, claws extended, and froze for a heartbeat before dealing a raking blow down her side. Both cats snarled furiously and leapt at each other to tussle on the ground in a withering bundle of fur. Greywing couldn't keep on watching. He had other things to worry about. With Lightning Tail and Cloud Spots on either side of him, he launched himself at One-Eye. The rogue went limp and fell to the ground, but as soon as Greywing landed on top of him, he exploded into movement, battering Greywing's belly with his hind paws. Cloud Spots tried to get a grip on One-Eye's throat, but the rogue twisted his head aside and fastened his teeth in Cloud Spot's shoulder. Dang. When Lightning Tail tried to grab the rogue from the other side, One-Eye raked his claws over the young cat's ear. "It's like fighting 3 different cats," Greywing thought. He could feel his chest tightening with effort as he struggled to get a grip on One-Eye's wildly flailing body. He had never known a cat so hard to defeat. At last, Cloud Spots and Lightning Tail darted in from either side and managed to pin One-Eye down. Greywing stood over him, panting, while One-Eye glared up at him with a malevolent yellow eye. Greywing raised a paw to slash One-Eye's throat open and finish the fight. But before he could strike, he heard Thunder's voice raised in a furious yowl. "He's mine!" Thunder rushed over to One-Eye, motioning Cloud Spots and Lightning Tail aside with a fierce gesture of his paw. He even waited for the rogue to regain his paws before launching himself at him. Screeching and snarling, the 2 cats rolled together on the ground in a flurry of teeth and claws. "Welcome, Icy Demon!" A flash of movement alerted Greywing, and he turned in time to block Starflower as she threw herself towards the fight. "Get back!" he spat, following up the words with a hard kick to Starflower's chest. She cringed back, whimpering. That was for Thunder, Greywing thought with satisfaction. Certain that Starflower was no longer a threat, he turned back to the battle. Everything was suddenly quiet. Thunder, Lightning Tail, and Cloud Spots were standing over One-Eye's unmoving body. His head lay at an awkward angle, his neck clearly broken. "He's dead," Thunder meowed. Starflower let out a moan of grief and dragged herself across the ground to touch her nose to her father's. Watching her, Greywing's heart was almost touched. Almost. "Get her away from here. Get her away from there," Thunder ordered, his voice cold. "She doesn't deserve to grieve. Drive her out!" Bang. "Rest in peace, One-Eye, but not really." I knew she was too seductive. Lightning Tail knew because she's... One, because she was too smooth, and two, because he totally... She's too much all at once. Yeah! I still ship Lightning Tail with Thunder, though. It won't happen, but I can believe. Welcome, Jace! Chapter 26. We're almost done. 2 more chapters. Oh my god. Kayawi! Exactly. Thunder watched, and I've read so much fan fiction. I know exactly what's going through Lightning Tail's head. There's no doubt about it. He's jealous. He has all the clear signs. It's all the clear signs. How's your night? Good. How's your night? I need to take a shower after this. I'm like so sweaty because it's so hot in my room. But let us continue. Great. Wonderful. Thunder watched in silence as Starflower padded over to him, her brilliant green gaze pleading. Thunder, he's my father, she mewed. Please let me say goodbye. Thunder felt as if everything in him was frozen, like the icy peaks Greywing had told him about. How interesting that you never mentioned that when we were together. He let out a snort of disgusted laughter. But then we were never together, were we? It was all a lie. Hurt flashed into Starflower's eyes. But it's for her father, not for me, Thunder told himself. I feel so stupid, he thought. Embarrassment flooding through him at the memory, and worst of all, he still felt something when he looked at her. It was a struggle to pretend that he no longer cared, though knowing how she had used him made it easier. Please, listen to me, Thunder. Starflower went on, taking another pace towards him, so that her sweet scent wreathed around him. I did like you, truly. Meeting you by the 4 trees and calling out to you on the moor, taking you to the secret garden. That was all my idea. Welcome, Yerp! Like I'd believe that, Thunder scoffed. It was. It was only after my father found out that I'd been spending time with you that he suggested I use our closeness to find out what the other cats were doing. She looked down and studied her paws. When I left you at the secret garden, when I was waiting for me. He'd been listening to us, and he sent me to follow you. I hid outside your camp and listened to what you were planning. Thunder winced. Oh, no, you're good. Thunder winced. I even heard paw steps. I thought some cat was following me. So that's how when I came to be waiting for us beside the thunder path, he meowed. And then you showed me a plant that was nothing like the blazing star. It was a trick to pump me for information. Starflower hung her head. That's true. But I told you the truth when I said the blazing star is the healing herb. You have to believe that. I believed every word you said. Thunder told her. I was... What? Starflower asked encouragingly, looking up at him again. Tricked, Thunder replied, letting all the bitterness he felt seep into one word. And I won't let it happen again. He turned his back on Starflower, ignoring her as he saw Tall Shadow stepping forward with a commanding whisk of her tail. Why are we standing here doing nothing? She asked. Now that One Eye has been defeated, we need to get the blazing star. You're right, Thunder agreed. I do believe Starflower when she says the blazing star heals. She has nothing to gain by lying now. I'll lead an expedition to go across the Thunder Path to fetch it, Tall Shadow announced briskly. By now, River Ripple and Windrunner had padded over to where Clear Sky still lay bleeding on the grass. Cloudspots and Dapplepelt were bending over him, while Sparrowfur and Owl Eyes dashed up with pawfuls of cobweb and bunches of herbs in their jaws. Greywing nodded at them, then turned back to Tall Shadow. And I'll come with you, Greywing added, padding up to her side. What about One Eye's rogues? Shattered Ice asked. They could still be lurking in the forest. Tall Shadow swiveled her head, her gaze raking the moorland. None of the strangers One Eye had brought with him were in sight. I doubt it. she meowed in reply to Shattered Ice. They ran away pretty quick when we ambushed their leader. It's my guess we won't see so much as a tail tip, and if I'm wrong, she slid her claws. We'll deal with them. We'll come with you, Mouseier meowed, beckoning with his tail to Mudpaws, just in case. It'll feel good to be doing something for Holly. Tall Shadow dipped her head to the big tabby tom. Thank you, she responded, before setting off across the moor at the head of the patrol. As she and Greywing headed towards the forest, Thunder felt a sudden panic at being left in charge. What am I supposed to do now? Desperately, he ran after them. Greywing, I need to know, he began. Greywing halted and turned towards him. Do as your heart tells you, Thunder, he mewed calmly. He stretched out his neck to touch noses with Thunder, his eyes warm and affectionate. I trust you, he added, before hurrying off after Tall Shadow. Thunder watched the older cat, almost his father, walk away. He felt a twinge of sadness at the realization that Greywing didn't want to advise him anymore. But at the same time, Greywing's faith in him had sent new energy flowing through his body. Thunder turned back towards Clear Sky and Sparrowfur and Owleyes. Thunder turned back towards Clear Sky as Sparrowfur and Owleyes ran over to him with even more cobwebs. Reassured that his injured father was receiving the best care possible, Thunder took a deep breath and turned back to where Starflower was crouching over One Eye's body. A soft kneading sound came from her. How did something so beautiful come from something so ugly? He asked himself, looking at the grotesquely sprawled limbs of the dead rogue. One Eye was ugly inside and out, but Starflower, his mom must have been smoking. Thunder paced slowly up to the golden tabby she-cat and stood beside her. It's time for you to leave, he meowed quietly. You're not welcome among any of our groups, and if you won't leave by yourself, we'll have to make you. Starflower looked up at him, and seeing the despair in her eyes made Thunder feel as though a giant claw was piercing his heart. Please, she whispered, can't we at least bury him? Then I'll leave you alone and never bother you again. Thunder hesitated and gave her a curt nod. Leaping up onto a nearby rock, he cleared his throat and called the cats around him. It's time to bury the dead, he announced where they all had gathered. Sparrowfur's eyes stretched wide with amazement. Why would we give him the respect he would never give to any of us? She demanded. Thunder glanced over at River Ripple, Windrunner, and Clear Sky, who had managed to sit up, looking shaky but determined. It's because we're different from One Eye, he responded, and we always have been. The other leaders nodded their agreement. One Eye believed that every cat was out for themselves, Clear Sky meowed, but we believe that life is better for every cat when each of us acts for the greater good. A murmur of approval rose from the crowd at Clear Sky's words. Thunder glanced around and picked out cats who seemed to have suffered least from their enemies' claws. Shattered Ice, Lightning Tail, and Night. Come and help me dig the grave, he instructed, leaping down among them. I want to help too, Starflower mewed as Thunder led the way to the foot of the torn tree where One Eye was lying. With so many paws working together, it didn't take long to dig a hole deep enough to bury One Eye. Then Starflower nudged his body into the hole and watched as the others covered him with earth and leaves. When the task was finished, the cats who had gathered looked at one another uncertainly, murmuring together as if they were unsure what to do now. Should one of us say something? Thunder wondered. Then Starflower stepped forward, raising her face to the sunshine. To my father, a true ray of light, she mewed. Huh? Bruh. Thunder narrowly stopped himself from gaping and heard scornful snorts of disbelief from one or two of the others, but no cat said anything. I would have snorted and apologized, but I would have snorted. River Ripple came to stand beside her and dipped his head towards the grave. One Eye was a survivor, he pronounced. A cat like no other who will be missed by those who love him. Those who loved him. Wait, what? One Eye was a survivor, he pronounced. A cat like no other, who will be missed by those who loved him. Perfectly true, Thunder thought, admiring River Ripple's cleverness, but it leaves an awful lot out. He's like, he will be missed by everyone who liked him, and no one else. Starflower stretched out a paw and laid it gently on her father's grave. For several heartbeats, she remained motionless, her eyes closed. Then, at last, she opened her eyes again and slowly padded up to Thunder. "Thank you," she whispered. "I won't trouble you any more." She slipped past him and headed towards the forest. Thunder stood with his back to her. A massive urge to turn and call her back crashed over him like a storm, but he held to fight with all his strength not to yield to it. When he finally couldn't fight anymore, he spun around to see that Starflower had disappeared over the swell of the moor. Meanwhile, River Ripple was rounding up his cats while Windrunner joined Gorsefur. Cloudspots helped Clear Sky to his paws and let him lean on his shoulder.
"I'll come with you back to the forest,"
Cloudspots meowed.
"No, don't argue. I don't want you collapsing there halfway." "I'll come too," Shattered Ice offered, "just in case there's trouble."
"And me!" Sparrowfur bounced up enthusiastically. As they set out, Clear Sky paused and looked back, his gaze traveling over the cats who had fought for him. "Thank you," he mewed. "Thank you, every cat. I'll never forget this." Watching them go, Thunder realized that River Ripple had sidled up to him and was angling his ears towards the place where Starflower had disappeared. His eyes were alight with a mixture of sympathy and amusement. "Don't worry," he murmured. "There will be others." Thunder felt his heart pounding hard in his chest. "Right," he meowed with a casual flick of his ears. But when River Ripple padded away, Thunder couldn't tear his gaze away from the spot where he had last seen Starflower. "I'm not so sure there will be others." "You have Lightning Tails right there. He's right there." Chapter 27. Clear Sky forged ahead, ignoring the pain of his wounds and the ache of exhaustion in his chest. His eagerness to return to the forest was growing with every paw step. Though he had only been away for a few days, it felt like a lifetime. He drank in the familiar forest scent and feasted his eyes on every tree and bush as he drew closer. "I haven't lived here very long," he thought, his spirits lifting, "but the forest has truly become my home."
"Hey!"
Cloudspots, who was falling behind, called out to him.
"Take it a bit slower. You're still hurt, and the forest isn't going anywhere."
But Clear Sky yearned to feel leaf mold beneath his paws again, and to listen to the creak and rustle of branches above his head, and he was desperate to return to his camp, to find out what One Eye had done to his cats. Shattered Ice quickened his pace to lope alongside him, with Sparrowfur scampering behind.
"So what now, Clear Sky?" he asked. "Don't you think you'll find life uneventful without One Eye?"
Clear Sky glared at him. "Don't be such a mouse brain."
"I can just imagine you curled up in your nest," Shattered Ice went on, a teasing look in his eyes, "bored with hunting and training, and wishing you had One Eye back to liven things up a bit."
Clear Sky halted, feeling his shoulder fur begin to rise. "Are you trying to be annoying?" he demanded. "Do you think I went through all this, nearly got my pelt ripped off, put you and your den mates in danger, just so that I could wish for that mangy excuse for a cat to come back again?" Unbothered by his sharp tone, Shattered Ice let out a roar of laughter.
"Sorry, Clear Sky, but at least I got you to slow down."
Clear Sky heaved a deep sigh, unable to hide his amusement. "Thank you, Shattered Ice." The words welled up from deep within his heart. "Thank you for helping me get to my territory back. I know I haven't always been—" His voice trailed off as he failed to find the right words. You enjoy Clear Sky gets some POV. While I never truly like him, I appreciate him as a character. Yeah, it's nice to see more points of views, just in general.
"It's okay."
Shattered Ice meowed understandingly as the two cats walked on more slowly towards the outskirts of the forest.
"I've known since you were a kid. Perhaps you haven't always made the right decisions, but I know who you truly are deep inside. Maybe this fresh start will help you remember that too."
His words gave Clear Sky a lot to think about, but before he could respond, Shattered Ice halted again, beneath the boughs of outlying trees.
"Who's there?" he called sharply. "Come out and show yourself."
Acornfur poked her head out cautiously from behind a tree, relief flooding into her gaze as she saw who was approaching. "It's you!" she exclaimed, bounding out into the open. "You've come to save us!" She ran up to Shattered Ice and touched noses with him, then with Cloudspots. Clear Sky felt a prickle of annoyance that
in his past that she had greeted the moorland cats and ignored him. What am I? What am I, invisible or something? Yes, he meowed. One eye is dead, and I've come to take back the leadership of the forest cats. Acorn Fur turned to him at last. You better come quickly, then, she responded. She whirled around and took off into the forest at a fast trot, not waiting to see whether the other cats were following her. Apprehension trickled down Clear Sky's spine like melting snow, and he exchanged a worried glance with Shattered Ice before heading after Acorn Fur. The young she-cat was making for the clearing where Clear Sky had made camp, but before she reached it, she veered off into the trees. A low moaning came from up ahead, making every hair on Clear Sky's pelt raise with horror. Skirting a bramble thicket and acorn for his paw steps, Clear Sky emerged into a small clearing. In front of him, he saw Petal and the two kits, Birch and Alder, lying in a makeshift nest at the foot of an elder bush. All three of them had bloated bellies and sores on their skins, and the foam around their jaws that were the signs of the sickness. The moans were coming from Petal as she made pitiful efforts to lick her and comfort the kits. What are they doing here? Clear Sky asked, stunned. One Eye made them come. Acorn Fur mewed, her voice shaking with a mixture of pity and outrage. He wouldn't let us help them. He posted a guard and said we should leave them here to die because they weren't going to do us any good. She almost broke down, beginning to tremble, then forced herself to continue. I couldn't get here until today, when One Eye and his rogues left for the battle. Quickwater and I brought them food and water, but I'm afraid it's too late. Maybe not. Cloudspot shouldered his way past Clear Sky and rushed over to the sick cats. Tall Shadow and Greywing have gone to fetch the blazing star from the other side of the Thunder Path. We must find Tansy quickly to use until they return. There was a rustling in the undergrowth as Shattered Ice, Acorn Fur, and Sparrowfur darted off immediately to find the herb. Clear Sky's legs felt shaky as he padded forward and stood looking down at Petal. As if his scent or the sound of movement had alerted her, she stirred, and her clouded eyes focused on him. Clear Sky, she whispered through cracked lips. You came. Crouching beside the nest, Clear Sky lowered his head close to Petal. Of course I came, he murmured. I couldn't let that rogue. I knew you would come, Petal interrupted, her voice suddenly sounding stronger. Of course you would. I've always been able to count on you, Clear Sky, ever since. Her voice faded, the brief flash of strength ebbing away. Her eyes clouded again. Petal! Clear Sky mewed urgently. He could see the huge effort Petal was making to focus on him again. I have to get better, she croaked. I want to help you, Clear Sky. To repay all you've done for me.
Tom is dead, Kay.
As she spoke the last words, her eyes seemed to fix on something in the distance. Her body gave a massive shudder and went limp. Petal! Clear Sky called out, sickness rising in his belly. There was no response. Cloudspots padded up with Acorn Fur just behind him, a bunch of tansy in her jaws, gave Petal a brief sniff and shook his head. Sorry, Clear Sky, she's gone. As Clear Sky dug his claws into the ground, rigid with grief, the older Tom continued. She went untreated for too long. The kits are younger, more able to fight. There's hope for them still. When we brought Petal the food, she wouldn't eat it, Acorn Fur mewed, setting her herbs down beside the nest. She took one bite and gave the rest to the kits. They weren't even her kits. Clear Sky's voice was bleak, but she was dedicated to them, right up until the end. He was still struggling to accept that he had lost Petal, the cat who had given him unfailing support from the first time they had met. I didn't deserve her. I was actually thinking that they would end up together in the end, Petal and Clear Sky. It just seemed like a natural progression of things. We should bury her quickly. We should bury her quickly. Cloudspots meowed. They covered Petal's bodies with leaves so that the sickness would not spread. Then, with the help of Shattered Ice, who had also returned with Tansy, Acorn Fur gently lifted Petal's body out of the nest, trying not to disturb the kits. Finally, they began to dig a grave at the side of the clearing.
Meanwhile, Cloudspot chewed up some of the tansy and began trickling the juices into the kits' mouths. They were barely conscious, but their tongues lapped up eagerly at the moisture as if they were tormented by thirst. Clear Sky dipped his head until he could nuzzle the kits affectionately, not caring about the risk of infection. "Hello, my little ones," he murmured. "You'll feel better soon, I promise." Birch looked up at him. "Where's Petal?" he asked. Clear Sky's heart lurched. "She's gone back to camp," he lied, fixing Cloudspot's a gaze that forbade the other child to contradict him. "They're too weak to bear the truth now. I'll tell them when they're stronger." He wondered what had happened to the expedition led by Greywing and Tall Shadow. "They can't get back with that plant soon enough." Birch sighed and snuggled down into the nest again, pressing himself close to his sister. "Should we move them back to camp?" Clear Sky asked. Cloudspot shook his head.
"They're better than Petal, but they're still not doing well. They need the blazing star. Besides, it's best to keep the kits away from the cats who are still healthy."
Clear Sky nodded. "When we've buried Petal, Shattered Ice can go find Greywing and ask him to let us have some of the flowers." Leaving Cloudspots with the kits, Clear Sky limped across the clearing to where Shattered Ice and Acorn Fur were digging the grave. His injuries made it hard for him to help, but in any case they had almost finished, and he contented himself with tidying up the scattered earth and removing the bigger stones.
"That'll do,"
Shattered Ice meowed after a few moments, standing back with a nod of satisfaction. Clear Sky gently nudged Petal's leaf-wrapped body into the hole and raised his head to the sky. His eyes closed as the other two cats covered her with earth. "Please take care of Petal. Determined and loyal till the last." He prayed silently to the spirit cats. "Let her join your ranks and give us guidance. I will miss her." Opening his eyes again, he wondered if the spirit cats had heard him. Oddly, the prayer had made him feel better. Shattered Ice and Acorn Fur stood silently beside the grave for a few heartbeats, until Acorn Fur gave her pelt a shake. "Clear Sky, we ought to go back to camp," she mewed. Clear Sky nodded. "Right. Shattered Ice," he added, "will you go to the hollow? And when Greywing comes back with the blazing star, tell him that we need some here."
"I'm on my way,"
Shattered Ice replied briskly, flopping towards the edge of the clearing. "I'll stay with the kits until the herbs come," Cloudspots offered. "I need to make sure it'll help them." "Thank you." Clear Sky dipped his head. "Will you be okay on your own here?"
"I think One Eye's rogues are long gone,"
Cloudspots responded.
"But on your way to camp, will you keep an eye out for Sparrowfur? She went to collect tansy and she hasn't come back."
Uneasiness tingled through Clear Sky from ears to tail tip. Sparrowfur was one of the bravest cats he had ever known, but she was still only a half-grown kit. And we don't know they aren't still rogues lurking about. "I'll do that," he promised Cloudspots. "And if she hasn't turned up when I've spoken to my cats, I'll send a patrol out to look for her." Turning back to Acorn Fur, he flicked his tail in the direction of the camp. "Lead the way." All of Clear Sky's senses were alert as he followed Acorn Fur, but he didn't see or scent any sign of Sparrowfur. "I'll get my cats to follow her scent trail from the clearing," he decided. "Thorn is good at tracking. We'll find her." When he and Acorn Fur emerged from the undergrowth and entered the camp, Clear Sky saw the rest of his cats huddled around the pool in the center. They spun around, their shoulder fur rising apprehensively as he padded towards them. Then Quickwater jumped to her paws. "Clear Sky!" she exclaimed, sounding both surprised and relieved. "You're alive! Are you okay?" "Apart from having my pelt ripped off, I'm fine," Clear Sky replied, his glance raking across the others. "It's good to see you all again." Thorn, Leaf, and Nettle looked glad to see him too, but Snake was glaring at him with clear hostility in his eyes. As Clear Sky was speaking, he leaped up and padded forward to face him.
"Good to see us," he snarled. "Like I believe that. You let this happen. We're all scarred by One Eye's mark now."
"I know." Clear Sky bowed his head. "I'm more sorry than I can say. It was my poor judgment that allowed One Eye into our group in the first place. I intend to spend the rest of my life making up for that mistake." When Snake didn't respond, he continued, his voice choking with the strength of his emotions. "This forest is my home, and you're all my family. I would do anything for you, and I risked my life to get rid of One Eye and come back to you. Can't you see that?" He appealed to Snake. Snake stared at him for a moment. Then, without warning, he leaped at Clear Sky, striking at his face with claws extended. Shaky from his injuries and the stress of Petal's death and burial, Clear Sky was knocked to the ground, letting out a yowl. Summoning all the strength he could, he battered at Snake with his hind paws and managed to throw him off. The two cats crouched on the ground, facing each other. This guy could see the burning hatred in Snake's eyes. He tried to stare him down, but he could see that Snake intended to attack again. What am I gonna do? Clear Sky flattened his ears. His chest was heaving from their brief tussle, and he knew that in his injured state he couldn't win a fight. What will the other cats do when they see their leader beaten? But before either of them could make a move, a wild screech sounded from the undergrowth at the edge of the clearing. A blur of tortoiseshell fur shot into the open and barreled into Snake. Sparrow fur! Clear Sky stared in astonishment as the little she-cat tackled the Tom, who was twice her size, her paws flailing wildly. Snake could have flattened her with a couple of blows, but for a heartbeat he was too confused to defend himself. In that moment, Nettle threw himself into the battle, raking his claws across Snake's ears. Come on, he yowled at the other cats. We can't let some kit fight for our leader. Yes! From the other side, Quickwater hurled herself at Snake. Come on! At her words, Acornfur, Thorn, and Leaf leaped up into the fray. Snake went down underneath a mound of spitting, clawing cats. Stop! Clear Sky exclaimed, stepping forward to haul Acornfur off. That's enough. I don't want him dead. He had to grab Leaf, too, and shove him away. Finally, his orders sank in, and the enraged cats backed off. They stood in a circle around Snake, who struggled to his paws, spitting out dirt and debris. Blood was trickling from a scratch on his forehead, and he had lost several clumps of fur. Clear Sky paced forward to face him. You can't accept me as leader, he meowed, or leave the forest. Then I'll leave, Snake snapped. With a grim nod, Clear Sky motioned for the others to move back, to leave Snake an open passage out of the clearing. Snake turned and stalked off into the undergrowth. As the sound of his departure died away, the rest of the cats encircled Clear Sky, each touching noses with him in turn. Gratitude shone in their eyes. It's good to have you back, Acornfur murmured. Thank you. Clear Sky blinked happily at his cats and gave Sparrowfur a swift lick around the ears. You are without a doubt the most flea-brained kit I have ever come across, he meowed, and the bravest. Thank you, too. Before Sparrowfur could reply, Clear Sky heard the sound of a cat pushing its way through the break-in towards the clearing. He whirled around, half expecting to see Snake returning for another attack. Instead, it was Tall Shadow who emerged into the open. Relief flooded through Clear Sky as he saw the bundle of yellow flowers and spiky leaves that she carried in her mouth. You brought the blazing star, he exclaimed. Where's Greywing? Back in the hollow, Tall Shadow replied, dropping the herb at Clear Sky's paws. Shattered Ice said you needed this. Clear Sky nodded. Petal died of the sickness, he told her, and the kits are very ill. Cloudspots is with them. Where? Tall Shadow asked, glancing around the camp. I must see him. I'll show you. Clear Sky picked up the stems of the blazing star and limped off in the direction of the small clearing where the kits were lying. You'll need to go faster than that, Tall Shadow meowed. Sorry, but I'm doing the best I can. Clear Sky mumbled around his mouth full of herbs. The kits are that way, he added, pointing with his tail. A few extra seconds won't make a difference, will they? We just left the hollow, Tall Shadow replied, and Holly is responding well to the blazing star. But that's not all. Her kits are coming early. Dang, instant healing! Last chapter! Oh my god. Have I watched Legion? No. I'm not sure what that is. Is that like a superhero thing? It sounds like Superman type stuff. The sun was going down, casting long shadows across the hollow. A raw, damp breeze ruffled the tough moorland grass and stirred the branches of the gorse bushes. Thunder yawned and arched his back in a long stretch, trying to ease the aches in his muscle. The demands of the day had exhausted him, and it's not over yet. He settled down again on the grass at the foot of the lookout rock and cast a glance at Tall Shadow, who was sitting beside him. She had finished grooming her black pelt. Now she looked neat and composed, her tail wrapped over her forepaws. Her gaze was fixed intently on the nest where Holly was giving birth to her kits. This was the first time Thunder had been able to draw breath since he had led the attack on One Eye and his rogues. At least the Maligant cat wouldn't trouble them any further, and nor would his deceitful, treacherous daughter, Starflower. Best not to think about her. Once River Ripple had set off back to the river with his cats, and Windrunner and Gorsefur returned to their kits, Thunder had raced across the moor after Greywing and the other cats who had set out to gather the blazing star. and caught up with them at the edge of the thunder path.
What are you doing here? Tall Shadow asked, adding anxiously, is there trouble back at camp?
Thunder shook his head. No, everything's fine. I just felt restless, he confessed. And I wanted to make sure you were okay and that One-Eye's rogues weren't around.
Huh. Palestine kneaded the grass with his claws. We've smelled plenty of their reek, but we haven't seen a hair of their miserable pelts.
They had crossed the thunder path without trouble, but as they searched the marshes for the blazing star, Thunder had noticed how Tall Shadow gazed across the reed-filled pools with longing in her eyes, and turned back with reluctant paw steps once they had collected as much of the plant as they could carry. Now, as he examined her calm profile, Thunder had to ask himself how far the black she-cat's fascination with the marshes would carry her.
Would you have come back?
Thunder asked her, with a flutter of anxiety in his belly as he dared to put words to his uncertainty.
If we hadn't needed your help, if we hadn't needed you to help carry the blazing star, would you have stayed over there in the marshes?
Tall Shadow didn't shift her gaze from Holly's den, where they could just make out the group of cats a tail length back from the entrance. Pebbleheart was tending to Holly, smoothing her fur with one paw and licking her ears. Cloudspot stood beside him, supervising. He had only just returned from treating Petals kits in the forest. Jagged Peak was crouching beside Holly, too, murmuring words of encouragement into her ear. Though she was responding to the blazing star, Thunder knew that it was still very dangerous for her to be giving birth so soon. For several heartbeats, Tall Shadow did not speak, and when she did, it was not in reply to Thunder. Who would have thought Jagged Peak would have ended up being such a wonderful mate and father? She mewed. You didn't answer my question, Thunder retorted. Before Tall Shadow could respond, a high-pitched wailing came from Holly, a sound that made every hair on Thunder's pelt prickle with anticipation. Tall Shadow leaped to her paws. The kits are coming. All Thunder's instincts told him to race across to Holly's nest and see what was happening, but he knew that too many cats crowding around would be bad for Holly and her kits. Tall Shadow seemed to feel the same, and she paced impatiently in tight circles. The next moments were the longest of Thunder's life, but at last Cloudspots broke away from the cluster of cats in the mouth of the den and bounded over to them.
Holly's kits are here, he announced triumphantly. 3 of them, all well, and Holly is fine too. This is as good as we could possibly have hoped for.
Thunder felt a loud purr rising from his throat, but Tall Shadow twitched her tail anxiously.
But how is Holly really? She asked. I've seen illness before, and it doesn't just vanish in a couple of heartbeats. Will she make it through the night? We've given her another dose of the blazing star, Cloudspots replied, his elation fading. Now all we can do is watch and wait.
By now the last of the sunlight had vanished, and twilight covered the moor. Thunder stifled another massive yawn and said goodnight to Tall Shadow and Cloudspots before withdrawing to his den. Sleep? I've almost forgotten what it's like to rest my bones. Some cat had renewed the moss and bracken in his nest, and Thunder sank into the soft bedding with a weary sigh. He began grooming his pelt, running his tongue over the scratches he had received in the battle with One-Eye, but his tongue moved more and more slowly, and his eyelids were growing heavy. I'll just sleep for a bit. Thunder felt a paw on his shoulder, gently shaking him. He opened his eyes and made out the figure of Greywing. His gray pelt turned to silver by the moonlight that shone through the entrance to the den. It's time, Greywing mewed. Thunder shifted a yawn, feeling utterly confused. Time for what? He mumbled. To go to the 4 trees, Greywing replied. Can't you feel it? Struggling back to his full wakefulness, Thunder turned his attention inward. Waves of energy was surging through his body, growing stronger with every heartbeat. He could hear faint voices calling in the distance, and he realized that he recognized them. Rainswept Flower and Turtletail! Thunder locked his gaze with Greywing's and spotted a flutter of grief in his kin's face at the sound of his dead mate's voice. He rose to his paws. You're right, let's go. Taking the lead out of camp, Thunder almost tripped over Mouseier, who was sleeping in the open, curled up in the shadow of a rock. The tabby Tom didn't stir. Thunder drew a breath of relief. We don't want any cat asking us where we're going. Thunder and Greywing were still silent as they headed for the clearing with the 4 great oaks. The air was mild, not at all like the night on the edge of Leafmere. Thunder could hardly feel the long grasses brushing against his pelt, and the speed of his own movement surprised him. It was almost as though they were floating, not walking at all. When they arrived in the clearing, Thunder saw that more cats were already assembled there. sitting in a ragged half circle in the front of the rocks. Tall Shadow, River Ripple, Windrunner, and Clear Sky. They acknowledged the newcomers by dipping their heads, but no cat spoke. Thunder looked around for Turtletail and Rainswept Flower and spotted them on top of the rock. Their pelts glimmering in the with starlight and frosted sparkles shone in their eyes. They too dipped their heads in greeting. You heard us call to you, Rainswept Flower meowed. You came. At the sight of the two beautiful she-cats, Thunder felt himself choking with emotion, his throat so tight he could scarcely breathe. Why were they taken from us? Why did we have to be parted in the first place? Because now we can see everything you see and more, Turtletail responded as if she was reading his thoughts. Because we can help you. Are we really parted when we can send you messages in your dreams? Thunder's eyes stretched wide in shock. This is a dream. Now I understand. That's why I never disturbed Mouseier, and why we seem to float over here, and why I don't feel the night cold. Glancing at Greywing, he saw the older cat shared his astonishment. We're sharing the same dream, he whispered. His breath sounded easy, without the problems that had plagued him ever since the forest fire. And so are we, River Ripple added. His eyes were full of wonder, so different from his usual amused detachment. All the leaders. Don't get too excited, Turtletail warned them. Now think. Can you remember what we told you the last time we spoke with you? Thunder nodded. You said we had to unite or die, and you were right. We united against One Eye and defeated him, and we shared the blazing star to fight off the sickness. He paused, and when neither of the spirit cats spoke, he continued. What now? For the first time, he realized he didn't know what the future held. Why did you summon us in our sleep? Rainswept Flower's blue eyes shone with star fire as she gazed down at him. What else did we tell you? She asked. Almost overwhelmed by the strangeness of what was happening to him, Thunder struggled to remember. It was Greywing who spoke up, that to survive we must grow and spread like the blazing star. Rainswept Flower gave him a nod of approval. That's right. Do not forget those words. They will help you in the coming seasons. Thunder exchanged a bewildered glance at Greywing, then shrugged. Why can't these star cats ever tell us something we can understand? Can you give us any more of a clue as to what that means? Tall Shadow asked. Yes. Yes, Windrunner flicked her tail, sounding irritated. Why bring us here and then speak to us in riddles? Turtletail held up her paw, the pads facing the living cats, and extended her claws. The blazing star has 5 petals, just as cats' paws have 5 claws. It's like she's teaching kids, Thunder thought, frustrated. Yes, but so what? Grow and spread. Grow and spread. Turtletail and Rainswept Flower spoke in a chorus, repeating the same phrase over and over. As Thunder gazed up at them, still bewildered, the starry forms of the spirit cats began to fade. Their voices grew fainter, too, as if they were calling out from an immense distance. No! Thunder yowled. Don't leave us! Stay and explain! It was too late. Turtletail and Rainswept Flower seemed to dissolve until they were no more than wisps of mist above the rocks. Then they were gone. Thunder threw back his head and let out another long caterwaul to the stars that blazed down from an empty sky. And before his eyes, the stars seemed to shift, blotted out as darkness swirled in front of his eyes. He lashed out with one paw and felt the soft touch of moss against his pads. His eyes flew open and he realized that he was back in his own den. Thunder's heart was racing, and shivers ran through him as if he had just struggled out of icy water. He lay still in his nest for several heartbeats, going over in his mind what the spirit cats had said. After a few moments, the moonlight that washed into his den was suddenly cut off as another cat slipped through the entrance. Greywing's scent wreathed around him. Well done, Greywing muttered. Well done, Greywing muttered, sounding unusually irritable. You called the dream to a halt. They were leaving anyways, Thunder retorted, sitting up and shaking scrapes of moss from his pelt. Greywing padded further into the den, letting the light flow back, and sat down beside Thunder. We have to work out what that message means, he meowed. Thunder rolled his eyes. Good luck with that. He was still frustrated by the spirit cat's riddling talk, and by the way they had vanished instead of explaining themselves. I have an idea, Greywing continued, sounding more like his calm self, but we need to discuss it with the others. Thankful to have something he could do, Thunder leaped to his paws.
Do you want me to fetch Clear Sky, River Ripple, and Windrunner? Wait. Gray Ring stretched out a paw to stop Thunder from leaving the den. Let's talk to Tall Shadow, just to see whether she had the dream too. Thunder nodded. Good plan. Gray Ring rose to his paws and padded out of the den. Then Thunder followed him into the open. When Thunder followed him into the open, he saw the moon had already set. The stars were fading and pink streaks stretched across the sky where the sun would rise. The air was damp and misty, with dew clinging to every rock and blade of grass. The rest of the cats were beginning to stir. Tiny squeaks came from the den where Holly and Jagged Peak were caring for their kits, and as Thunder watched, Pebbleheart emerged from his own den and slipped in to join them. The sound of their cheerful greetings told Thunder that Holly was doing well. Shattered Ice slid out of the tunnel where he slept and sat down to scratch one ear vigorously with his hind paw, while Dapplepelt sat at the mouth of her den, giving herself a thorough grooming. His glance sweeping across the camp, Thunder spotted the small, dark shape of Tall Shadow sitting at the foot of the lookout rock, and as soon as she saw Greywing and Thunder, she leaped up and bounded across the hollow towards them. Did you have a dream? She demanded when she reached them. Greywing dipped his head. So you had it too? Yes, Tall Shadow confirmed. What are we going to do about it? We need to discuss it with the other leaders, Thunder meowed. I'll go fetch them. Wait. Once again, Greywing stretched out a paw. I can feel it kind of tingling in my pads. It reminds me of what the spirit cat said. I think we should go back to the 4 trees. Tall Shadow twitched her ears in surprise. If that's what you want. With Greywing in the lead, the 3 cats left the hollow and set out across the moor. Mist still wreathed around them, but above their heads the sky was clear. Thunder enjoyed the cool touch of the dewy grass on his paws, reviving him from his interrupted sleep and sending new energy through his limbs. By the time they crossed into the forest, the sun was peering over the horizon. Every drop of the moisture glittered in its rays. The ragged scraps of mist still remained under the shadow of the trees. When they reached the top of the slope that led down into the clearing, Thunder spotted Clear Sky, Windrunner, and River Ripple perched among the bare branches of one of the great oaks. There you are! River Ripple called out to them, leaping down to join them as they bounded rapidly down the slope. I wondered how long it would take for the 3 of you to show up. You're expecting us? Greywing asked, as Clear Sky and Windrunner also jumped down and padded up to them. For answer, River Ripple simply dipped his head. Did you see the same thing, then? Clear Sky asked, tearing at the ground in agitation. The meeting with the spirit cats? What did you make of their message? We all saw it, Windrunner responded. And my encounters with death have colored everything for me. Unite or die, they told us. All I can take from that is that we have to face more death and grief. But I think their message tonight was more hopeful than that, River Ripple told her quietly, brushing his plumpy tail sympathetically against Windrunner's shoulder. Besides, shouldn't we all feel grateful? How lucky we are to be. He paused, struggling to find the right words. The chosen ones? Thunder asked. River Ripple tilted his head and looked both surprised and impressed. Yes, maybe that's what we are. We're lucky that the spirit cats want to speak with all of us and allow us to meet with them in our dreams. His habitual amusement glimmered in his eyes. Think of how terrifying it would be if you received this message and you were the only one. We've been told to grow and spread, but are we still being told to unite or die? Thunder asked, remembering what he had said in the dream. I think we would all have died if we hadn't united against One Eye, so is that part of the message over and done with now? You want to go back to fighting among ourselves? Tall Shadow asked. Having another battle, maybe? Oh, of course not, Thunder began to protest. Then I think both messages are important. We just have to figure out what the second message means. Grow and spread. I hope the spirits aren't blaming me for leaving the hollow, Windrunner interrupted waspishly. Well, it can't mean that we all have to live together, Greywing meowed. That never worked right from the beginning. Only because some cats argued about where to live, Tall Shadow pointed out. Clear Sky's neck fur began to bristle. Are you saying we have no right to make that decision? Thunder could see that the meeting was starting to break down into squabbling if he didn't do something. Punching his muscle, he leaped up onto the great rock. Stop! He howled. When silence fell, with all the others gazing up at him, he went on. We mustn't fight among ourselves. We need to work out together to find the exact meaning of their most recent message. Hi, Darkspin!
Murmurs of agreement came from the other cats, except for Clear Sky, who barely seemed to be listening. Instead, he seemed to be carefully scanning the area.
Choosing new boundaries? Thunder wondered, feeling his belly tense at the thought of more confrontation with his father. I hope not. Oh my god, Bixby started talking to me. Had enough of boundaries to last me a lifetime.
The other 4 leaders jumped up to join Thunder on top of the rock, and after a pause, much to Thunder's relief, Clear Sky followed them. By now the morning sun was rising high in the sky, casting its slanting rays between the branches of the oaks and burning off the last of the dawn mist. The creak and rustle of the trees was all around them. Thunder felt peace like dew soaking through his pelt as the others relaxed. And as the others relaxed, he realized that they felt it too. Clear Sky's gaze was fixed on the horizon.
We need to work together, he murmured. We can do that, even if we don't live as one group.
Hi, Mikaran.
Even greater relief flooded through Thunder, and he drew closer to his father. Of course we can, he responded.
I'm not sure that I can take direction from other cats on my own territory.
Windrunner mewed stiffly, but I'll think about it.
Greywing and Tall Shadow exchanged a glance.
I'll do whatever the rest of you ask of me, Greywing stated firmly. So will I, Tall Shadow added.
River Ripple was the only cat who hadn't spoken. As Thunder turned to the loner who had already helped them so much, the Silver-Fur Tom dipped his head in answer to the unspoken question.
I'll unite with you, he meowed.
Haven't you noticed? I've been doing that ever since the day you first arrived here from the mountains.
The only difference, Thunder told him, is now our survival depends on your help.
Every cat fell silent, as if they were thinking of the enormous commitment they had just made to one another. But Thunder could feel satisfied.
But what about what they said?
But what about when they said we had to grow and spread like the blazing star?
Thunder asked. What does it mean?
For a moment, the 6 cats exchanged baffled glances. Then Greywing mewed.
I think I understand.
The end! Wow! Wow!
Like a sun shadow. Oh, Stone Teller.
Wow! Yippee! We did it! We finished it! That book took us a while to read because I had to have a couple of short reading streams for this one for I forget the reasons. I think I had to go early. You don't speak English. That's all right. That's okay.
Oof. I'm so hot. My room is so hot.
Also, I'm like, I should go take a shower. In the end, I didn't go shopping yesterday, so I think maybe today we go shopping? I don't know.
These are the questions that I ask myself.
Oof. Okay, so I think maybe next week we won't read Warrior Cats because I don't want to start a new book and then have me away for the next two weeks. So we'll wait until we'll have a Warrior Cat Wednesday break, but also a normal break because I won't be around. And then we'll start the next one, which is what's the next one? Is there like a little bio on this?
No, it doesn't.
Wow. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, and United States. Wow. I'm gonna look it up. What is Dawn of the Clans 5? We're almost done this series. What is the thing on the back? How close are we to catching? That's a good question. Warrior at all books. Power 3, I want to start. We're on Dawn of the Clans. I think 3 to 4 more series. There's A Vision of Shadows, which is next. The Broken Code. Starless Clan. And then a new series has just started, I think? Changing Skies? So there's 3 more... There's 3 more series that are done, and then a new series is just started. So there's 4 potentially. We might be able to make it to the newest series before the newest series is done being written. Could you imagine? Wow. But then there are like super editions. There are 18 super editions. And 16 novellas. Yeah. That's a big goal. It is. But I think we could... Actually, I don't know if we can do it. Wait, what? We're on 1, 2, 3, 4. We're on the 5th series. How long did it take us to get to the power of 3? Like, at least a year and a half. At least. Maybe longer. I think we should aim for it, though. I think we can do it. I think we got this. I think we got this in the bag. Okay, Dawn of the Clans number 5. Let's read the back of this book. All right. The 5th book in Dawn of the Clan series takes readers back to the earliest days of the clan, when the cats first settled in the forest and began to forge the warrior code. I did add them! We have both One Eye's death and Petal's death added. Spirit cats have spoken. To survive, the cats from the mountains must grow and spread like the blazing star. Clear Sky believes the only way to grow is to band together again, but a few cats are willing to ally with him. While Tall Shadow plans to establish a new camp in the pine forest, River Ripple is content by the water, and Windrunner has made her home on the moor. The time has now come for all cats to decide where they will live, and where their allegiance will truly lie. They're finally settling, which is kind of exciting because we don't know where Greywing is going to settle, really. 1 came out last week? Oh my god. Okay, it was a super edition. Which one was that? What was the super edition? Stormclan's Folly? Yeah. Wow. Crazy. When will we get a Jay Feather book? That's what I want to know. I want a Jay Feather book. Tigerheart gets a book? Tigerheart gets a book before Jay Feather? Insane. Insanity. Greywing in the last arc of the series makes me feel suspicious. Especially after you read all the super editions. That's even weirder. What kind of context would that make? I don't know, that's odd. Some odd stuff. Okay. I think with that we will end today. So that I can go clean myself of this sweat. Will Tom... I won't be able to... What's the word? I won't be able to stream until next week again. Actually, I might try to. So like have like a really chill Minecraft stream where I work on my castle. I just have to drink like an extra energy drink. And then I'll be awake enough. It might just be a little later than usual, that's all. But I want to try, like, I've been so sad not being able to stream as much, especially when I feel like I'm in a place where if I be streaming more, then I would be helping myself grow a lot more. So not streaming is making me. So I'm gonna try and slowly like work myself up to streaming even on the days where I have to work fully, because until at least November, I'm gonna be working a lot more. So I may as well get used to it. So we'll do some minding craft. Minding. Busy, busy. Busy, busy, busy. What? Japanese grandmas aged 75 and above are being rented as anime VTubers. The $20 an hour service offers live chats with them for advice and support. I want to be an old lady VTuber. Rental granny. Is there a...
こんにちは。メタばあちゃんのリアコです。先日誕生日を迎えて86歳になりました。我ながら驚きです。この年までよく生きたものだと感激して。
Whoa. I can't believe you. I can't believe you, Perf. The cat's clavicle or collarbone does not connect with other bones but is buried in the muscles of the shoulder region. This lack of functioning collarbone allows them to fit through any opening the size of their head. Guys, if you ever need to fit through something that's the size of your head, break your collarbones. That's how you do it. Or dislocate your collarbones. Either or works well. All right. Okay, guys, wait. Okay, so in the new server, I think I'll add one new sticker because I have shown it before. I haven't, there's like, I think I have 5? No, I have 7 new emotes that I have not shown, that have been sitting, waiting patiently. I love them. Anyways, but I've shown one. It was the one. So I think I'll add that in the server right after stream. Okay. I'm not gonna raid anyone because I'm lazy. And I don't wanna. One of the like tough things about raiding is like when you raid but you like immediately want to leave. But like the streamer is like trying to be polite, so they're like, how are you, how was your stream, what were you up to, you know, like they want to be grateful and involved, but at the same time I'm like, I need to go. I need to run away right now, this very instant. Yeah, people say that, but like after everything, right? Usually, sometimes. Guys, I'm so proud of Lambriel. When I found him randomly those months ago, he had like 10 viewers or something, maybe even less. And I was like, I heard his voice and I was like, you're gonna make it, dude. I know it. I can tell. And now he has like he's almost getting the numbers to be a partner. I'm so proud. It's like done. My scope. I should be a talent manager, honestly, like someone who like seeks people out, talent finders, you know? I'm like I've got the good eyes for that. I had that feeling with Dunn and look at him now. Oh my goodness. Just like go and then I'll recruit people for my well, I don't actually have a group, so I'll recruit people for other people. Somebody can hire me to recruit people and I'll know. Commission on that. Exactly. Hire me to find YouTubers that will make it big one day. I promise you. I have proof. Two people now. Okay, that's it. That's all for me. I'm gonna head out now. Goodbye. I love you. I'll hopefully see you in the next 2 days. If not, then I'll see you on Monday. But I hope I see you in the next 2 days. Bye-bye, Perf. Bye-bye, Ben. Bye-bye, everyone else who's just hanging out, listening.